Hello, hello, hello everyone, NecroBMX here, and welcome back with more of Dragon Quest VIII. So yeah, oh, that's not what I'm looking for. Sorry, I'm looking for my text file. There we go. I am on the voice chat, so somebody might join and, scare the living shit out of me. That's very possible. Now, I initially had wanted to do all the gold grinding stuff as much off camera as I can, but I realized that I have alchemy going, and I don't want to have any of the alchemy happen off camera. I mean, we did a little bit when I was just doing medicinal herbs, and it was like the same thing all over again. But right now I have, let's see. Oh, that's the map button. That's not what I'm looking for. 21,000 and a half monies, which is a lot of monies, but it's not the amount of monies that I need for the purchasing that I need to do in Tryon Gully. So that being said, we need 147,800, which requires a trip to Neos Island. I don't think I talked to this guy. The Godbird Imperia and the 7 human sages had to use all their might to seal away Rapthorn. If he were to return, it would be impossible to destroy him. He must be stopped now before it is too late. Alright, so the list of things I have to buy are a great bow, a heavy hatchet, 4 mirror shields, a great helm, and a flowing dress. This is on top of anything else that I would want to buy just for, better stats. So that being said, it's going to take some time at Neos Island, running around first to... usually I would just stand in one spot and use Yangus's whistle, but at this point we have alchemy going. We have this, and then we have 2 more recipes after that. And then we have some recipes involving the stuff that we're going to buy. So, there's that. So let's zoom over there. That's not back. We want to go to Neos. Neos is actually sort of like, I think the next... We do have to go there. It is like, yeah, it's the next major place that we need to go. So I'm going to put this on speed up as we run around. I'm not going to fight anything that isn't including a gold golem, because it's just a waste of time. And then once we don't have any alchemy left, I will take it to... Oh, there's one. I will take it to Whistling. Alright, so what was this? This was... Okay, this was that. Alright. So we got ourselves an elfin elixir, which is not an uncommon item. So the next thing that I'm going to put in there is a magic water and Yggdrasil dew. Isn't that what I just did? Let me see something. So I just got elfin elixir. Did I not take that off? Yggdrasil dew, magic water. So, okay, so I didn't take that off the list. So I actually only have 1 recipe to do, but then, the stuff with what I would buy is a bit more. So this is the next one is a recipe that I actually recently saw in a book, but it was the next one that we were going to do anyway. And that involves the super spicy cheese, a cold cheese. That's not cheese. There's cold cheese. And the final thing is rock salt, which is probably closer to the beginning, I would think. I would think any rock salt I have would be closer to the beginning than the end. That's poop. I've got to have rock salt somewhere, right? Here it is. So instead of trying to build up all the money and buy everything at once, I'll try and buy the things that I need for alchemy as I get them. No, we're not fighting those guys. And maybe I will have to do some off-camera stuff, but we'll try to not. We'll try to show as much alchemy as we can, This is where I was hoping that people would join the voice chat so that, as I'm running around, we have stuff to talk about, but, well, maybe. It's just, it's a day that, like, the weather's sort of bad everywhere. You know. But we'll see what happens. Usually Alice or EB are good to join after a while. I probably could have pulled 8th in there, but 8th just went back to bed. Boy, I'm getting a lot of the red-tailed hipsters, though, you know? But what should we talk about? We should talk about something as I'm doing this, right? It's like... Because I never like to show this kind of thing, but I always like to, you know, at least make it somewhat interesting. So... I mean, maybe, like, the history of, like, me in this game, right? Like, talk a little bit about that, you know. Because I've always been a big Dragon Quest game, and of course... Oh, look at that. Look at that. That happened very quickly, actually. Alright, so here we go. We got ourselves the highly strung cheese, which I guess is an entire mood, right? Okay. So the next... Okay, so the next, bit of, we'll talk more when I'm running back and forth. But the next bit of alchemy that I have to do involves the flowing dress, and I am supposed to buy one of those. So let me run over to the shop here and see how much that is, and if I could probably afford it. Have I not been down there? Oh, that is... Hey, I've been down there. I'm tripping. Alright. Ah. Okay, the flowing dress is not in the armor shop, which is interesting. It might actually be in the item shop. Yes, the first thing. 14.8, that's most of the money I need. I only need one. And considering I don't need it for equipment, I won't be buying another one. So let me take the flowing dress off of here. Pop that in the bag. And then I'll pop it in the pot. So that's going to be the flowing dress, and we're going to stick a magical skirt in there. And there we go. Take that off my list. There we go. Let me get outside so I can warp back to Neos. So yeah, I've always been a big Dragon Quest fan, and, you know, like, I might as well talk about the whole series. Like, even far back, we called it Dragon Warrior because it was released as Dragon Warrior. And I remember, I was very young, and, you know, to me, like, video games were, like, mostly, like, Super Mario Brothers and whatnot. And I had played Zelda, both the first and second game. But, Gold Golems don't appear at night. I'm gonna have to make it daytime soon. But, you know, that's like more like an action RPG. Some people would even say, oh, it's not an RPG. You know, that's fine to say if you want to be wrong. You know, it's a silly argument, I think. It's a form of gatekeeping, really, is what it is. Alright, it's definitely nighttime now. But I remember, like, my uncle, you know, also had the NES, and, you know, he was like, I got this game, Dragon Warrior, you to see, right? We've never seen anything like that with the turn-based combat, with the commands and the text and everything. And it sort of really did pique my interest because it was like a fantasy thing, and I'd always been, you know, interested in fantasy. Like, you know, I'd already read The Hobbit, you know, so it was like... That was sort of my introduction to the fantasy genre, was reading The Hobbit when I was in the 3rd grade, right? And I want to say I was around... I must have been in the 4th or 5th grade. I think 4th, when I got the NES. And when I first played Dragon Warrior, you know, which is Dragon Quest I. And I didn't have it. Like, I played it at my uncle's house, so sometimes borrow it from him, right? You know, and I remember him telling me about Dragon Quest IV, you know. So, and then I played them all myself, you know. Well, what's interesting is that, you know, like, eventually I sat, and I was a little older, I was a teenager at this point, and you know, and I didn't have all these cartridges, so I set up an emulator, and I played all 4 of them, back to back, and this is when it really came from this game that I would have played occasionally, to something that I really became enamored with, you know? And, you know, as far as I knew, there were only 4, you know, and it was interesting that at one point I read an article in a gaming magazine. I forget which one it was, but it was talking about upcoming games, and this was a bit later, you know. And they were talking about... why am I fighting these guys? My bad. They were talking about Dragon Quest VII, and it was interesting because I didn't know it as Dragon Quest at that time. I knew it as Dragon Warrior. And I hadn't played them in a bit because, you know, I'd played through the NES ones, and then it was like a few years later. And I said, I'm like, I've never heard of this Dragon Quest, you know. But they were talking about it like it was a big deal, and this is like the biggest like RPG series in Japan, and it's legendary and everything. But at no point, and this is the fault of the person who wrote the article, at no point did this person mention that Dragon Quest VII was part of the same thing as Dragon Warrior, that it was known as Dragon Warrior in the United States. And as a matter of fact, when we did get it on the PlayStation, which was several years later, by the way, I might add, because it took a long time. Because this is just the announcement that it was in development, you know, and then it took a long time for them to make it, and then a long time for it to be translated. You know, they didn't mention anything of it, but it did come out as Dragon Warrior 7 for the PlayStation in the United States. So, you know, all right. But this game is what really got me. But let me open this up. So that was very quick. All right, so we got an Angel's Robe. Okay, so let me see about that because that's probably really good equipment. Oh, it's actually not great. It can only be used by Jessica or Angelo, and it's not as good as what they have, but that's fine. So the next bit of alchemy that I have involves the great bow that they have at Shrine Gully. It's not something that I'm likely to be able to... I just put MP2, didn't I? Yeah. Not likely to be able to afford it right now, but it's good to have a number to reach for, you know. So yeah, because I was getting to the point where I was talking about the importance of this particular game in my life as a Dragon Quest fan. So we're going to need this great bow. We're actually going to be popping 3 different bows in there. Okay, the great bow is 28,000, and you can see it is better than what he has, but we're going to pop it in with 2 other bows and get something even better. So this is sort of the next thing. Let me just put 28k here so that I know what I'm going for next. Because I'm going to pop the great bow, the Eros' bow, which I think is what he's using. Hold on. Oh, he's using Kayron's. Well, we're going to pop that in there, too. Kayron's bow, Eros' bow, and the great bow all together. Which means Angela will be without a weapon for a little bit, but that's fine. Because he's going to wind up with something even better. Oh, I'm having him do this. Where's Neos? So anyway, you know, I was unaware of the connection between Dragon Quest VII and Dragon Warrior 7. And it came and went, and I didn't know there was a Dragon Warrior 7 on PlayStation, really, right away. But then I started to see this game, Dragon Quest VIII. And at this point, I was like, I remember the article about Dragon Quest VII. Here's Pick 8, this PlayStation 2 game that looks fucking fantastic. But in this case, they were, instead of just saying, oh, this game's in development, they were showing the screenshots and such. And this magazine... well, actually, it wasn't a magazine, it was IGN, come to think of it. They showed that it was Dragon Warrior, that it was the same thing. They actually talked about the history of it, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, so Dragon Quest VIII's coming out, and I've apparently played the first 4, but I haven't played 5, 6, or 7, and I looked into it and saw that 7 was on the PlayStation. I got a copy of it. And then, you know, this game wasn't out yet. I didn't even have PlayStation 2, but I got a copy of 7, and wanted to play 5 and 6, and I wound up playing translated ROMs of, well, a translated ROM of 5. I didn't play 6 right away. I played 5, loved it. Actually played it on my Dreamcast. I had my Dreamcast set up as an emulator machine at one point. And I loaded NES and Super NES ROMs onto CDs, which had to be burned in a very specific manner so that the Dreamcast would think they were GD-ROMs, which is a CD, but just a different sort of way of, you know, doing that. How much do I have? Alright, 14.5. So anyway, you know, and I would have the emulator. It was like a whole setup thing. You put the emulator on a disc, put that in the Dreamcast, and then it would load the emulator, and then you would open the Dreamcast, take the emulator disc out, and put the ROM disc in, you know. But I had a whole system. I would play. The NES emulator for Dreamcast wasn't, like, super good, but I was able to play some games, like, mostly RPGs, because there's a lot of input lag, so I couldn't really play action games. But the Super Nintendo emulator was very good to the point where it was just, you know, I was able to play the games, you know, with no input lag. And I played through Dragon Quest V with a translated ROM, you know. Planned to play 6, but just got distracted by other things. Actually, by this game, because, you know, when this came out, and this was like the game that made me like go out and get, because it got me back into the series, you know. So I had played through like the first 4 again, you know, and then 5, and then, you know, I got a PlayStation 2 and this game, and it was the first game I had for PS2. And it pretty much lived in my PlayStation for a long time, you know? Yeah, it just lived there, you know? So, wait, I'm not doing alchemy, so I can just do this. So anyway, you know, this got me fall in love with the series all over again, you know? And, I actually wound up not playing the Super Famicom version of Dragon Quest VI, mostly because you know, the news started to come out that they were going to be remaking them again, and, you know, because one of the things, like when I played 7 on the PlayStation, the back of the manual had an ad for Dragon Quest IV. They called it, of course, Dragon Warrior 4. And 4 was like my favorite one at the time. You know, I hadn't played 5 yet. 5 was better than 4, but, you know, 4 was like my favorite. I loved 4, and seeing a remake of it done in the style of Dragon Quest 7, and it never came out. It was canceled because the company that was translated Dragon Quest 7, that was working on translating Dragon Quest 8, went out of business. And it was already very late in the PlayStation's library, and Dragon Quest 7 or Dragon Warrior 7 didn't really sell that great in the United States, mostly due to the fact that it looked like a very outdated game. It looked like very early PlayStation, because when they started development on it, it just took a long time to come out. And I don't think they saw the point of, you know, releasing 4, or, you know, they would have to hire another company, start from scratch to, you know. So it never happened, but I was excited at the prospect of playing like a new version of 4. It just never happened. So then I heard that 4, 5, and 6 are being remade, and they would come out on the DS, and I was like, well, first of all, you know, being able to play a remake of 4 was exciting to me. Being able to playing 5 with a new remake and extra content was exciting to me. And I hadn't played 6, you know? And it took a while, because like 4 came out. 4 was like, much like Dragon Quest 8 was the reason that I bought the PlayStation 2. Dragon Quest 4 Remake was the reason that I bought a DS. And, you know, I bought 4 and I bought 5. I remember, well, I bought the DS, when I bought the DS, 4 was one of the few games that I got with. I got the DS into a few games. And Dragon Quest 4 was one of them. It was like Dragon Quest 4 and like Mega Man ZX. You know. But anyway, you know, and I remember that very well. And I remember going to the store the day that Dragon Quest 5 came out, which is funny, because like I was on a date, believe it or not, with a girl, and it was like, either this day is going to go really well, right? Either this is going to lead to something else, or it doesn't, and I go to GameStop, right? So it didn't lead to anything else. I went to GameStop and bought Dragon Quest V. I mean, you know, it was kind of a short-lived relationship, only a few weeks, but But anyway, yeah, it was so. But then it was like, okay, like when's 6 coming out? Because it was exciting to play through 4, and it was exciting to play through 5 again. And then Dragon Quest 9 came out, you know, and I started to leave like, are they gonna release 6? Like, because I thought 4, 5, and 6 are gonna come out before 9. You know, 9 came out also on the DS, you know, and I played through 9, which was a very long game, you know. And then I was like, okay, and then eventually 6 came out, you know. But yeah. And then, of course, 10 didn't come out, and, you know... Oh, what am I doing? You know, 11 came out, and every time a new one of these... What am I doing? Don't do that. Every time a new one of these comes out, it sort of, like, reinvigorates, you know, my love for the series all over again, and, Dragon Quest 11 certainly, you know, is my favorite. You know, I had done a video a while back. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was a video, a tier list video of the Dragon Quest series, and the 3 that I had in that, like, that top, like, that S tier were Dragon Quest 5, Dragon Quest 8, and Dragon Quest 11, and I get a lot of people who ask me, and this happens all the time, because I'm like, the big Dragon Quest fan, and people who are interested in it either because they've seen 11 and it looks like a game that they're into, or they played Super Smash Brothers, you know, or maybe because they just, you know, are interested in getting into RPGs in general. And they ask me, like, okay, like, do you have to play them all? Is it like, you know, or is it like Final Fantasy where you just pick any of them? Or which one should I get? And I always say that, like, okay, some of them are connected to each other, but they all... Oh, I didn't mean to do that, but they'll probably run, yeah. You know, they all kind of stand on their own, regardless of any connections. And I said, to me, it's like the holy trinity there. I don't want to say trilogy because they're not as directly connected, but 5, 8, and 11. You know. I would say just start with 11. It's the easiest one to play. It's a generally easy game. It's got a fantastic story. It's kind of the best one. 8 is sort of the closest to being like 11 in terms of its gameplay. 5, much older game, you know, but one of the best stories, you know, really good. Those are the 3 that I recommend to people, you know. And of course, now we're anxiously awaiting any kind of news on Dragon Quest 12. The, what do you call it? Flames of Fate, I think? I believe that's the title, The Flames of Fate. At least the Japanese title. They may change it. They all have different titles in Japan. Like, I think each Dragon Quest game has had, like, several different titles. What we'll talk about. I'll go through that. Okay, so 1, I mean, it was Dragon Quest, and it was Dragon Warrior, right? That's 2 different titles. Dragon Quest 2, I believe the original Japanese title was Pantheon of Evil Spirits. Something like that. And, of course, in America, it was just Dragon Quest 2, or sometimes it was Dragon Quest Part 2. And when it got mobile release, it was Luminaries of the Legendary Line. They like that alliteration, so the L, Luminaries of the Legendary Line, L's. Oh, Jessica's level 40. Didn't expect to level up much here, but let's see. Oh, we gotta put her into whips, and then I guess I'll... Well, Staves, I think, gives you, they give you spells, so I'll put them to Staves. Alright, so she becomes a Lady of the Lash, gets Serpent's Bite, and she learns basic magical staff techniques, learns Acceleratal. You don't need a staff, I don't think, to cast that. I'm going to test that, actually. But I think you can just... That's why it's worth putting some stuff into Staves, because I think it'll be there. Acceleratal is really good. Actually, I don't see it here. Oh, it's Yangus, that's why. No, there it is, see? So it's worth it to put some stuff into Staves after you know, or even before if you wish. But anyway, yeah, so then 3 was, it was Dragon Quest 3 and Into the Legend. That was the original subtitle. It didn't have one in the United States. And then it was Seeds of Salvation. The S sounds that time, Seeds of Salvation. This game is actually the only one that doesn't have any sort of alliterative title, you know. If they ever do like a full remake, they might, but I kind of doubt it. Let's see, 4 was the Fated ones or something like that, or it was Chapters of Fate, something like that, and then it becomes Chapters of the Chosen with that ch sound. 5 was Bride of Heaven, or Heaven's Bride, depending on how you translate it, and that became Hand of the Heavenly Bride. I almost have enough for the bow. Hand of the Heavenly Bride. And then the H's. And then 6 was, I think it was Land of Illusion or Realm of Illusion, you know? And it became Realms of, either Realms of Revelation or Realms of Reverie, depending on where you were. And I think in Japan it was Realms of Reverie, and in the United States it was Revelation. I don't know my copy close by at hand to look at which one it is, but I know one region it's Revelation and the other region it's Reverie. Revelation actually makes more sense, considering the storyline. But anyway, so then 7 was Warriors of Eden, and it became Fragments of the Forgotten Past. So the F sounds there. This game, Dragon Quest VIII in Japan was The Land, the Sea, the Sky, and the Cursed Princess. Fantastic title, very long. The Land, the Sea, the Sky, the Cursed Princess, right? But, and it makes sense because you take to land, you take to sea, and then you take to sky in this game. But the, ooh, 3 of them. That was a Japanese title. It's Journey of the Cursed King. Everywhere else, no alliterative title there. Maybe one day they'll come up with an alternate alliterative title for crits for this game. But I'm thinking probably not because it's so known as those 2 titles in those 2 regions. 9 was, I think it might have always been Sentinels of the Starry Skies in any region. What am I doing? But I think it might have had. I think it might have had a different title in Japan in early development. Like it might have been Guardians of the Skies or something like that. But I think it is just Sentinels. I mean, alliteration works differently in Japanese anyway, so, you know. But it's something very similar to that. 10 is Rise of the 5 Tribes. No alliteration, but kind of a rhyming meter. Rise, 5, Tribe, you know. I wonder what the offline version is going to be called, and hopefully we get to see it in the United States. Because I would love to play Dragon Quest X as an RPG. I might have enough money. And not necessarily as a... Oh, I have more than enough as an MMO. I'm not really interested in MMOs. I would play a Dragon Quest one, but that's beside the point. You have to buy the game, you have to buy the subscription, it's a whole thing. And then 11, Echoes of an Elusive Age, you know. The E's. Well, it's not even, it's like the schwa sound, Echoes of the Elusive Edge, you know. Alright, let's see, so I'm buying a bow, right? Now, I'm not going to bother equipping it, because I'm putting it right in the thing. I'm trying to get out of this. There we go. Oh, well, that's fine, I guess. It's not what I wanted to do, but alright. Oh, wait, before I do this, I gotta unequip his bow. So let me actually just give him, like, some other bow that he can have, so that he's not completely disarmed. Let's see. That's the great bow. We can't give him that. I must have, like, an older bow, like Eros's bow. Chiron's bow. Wait, so there's an extra Chiron's bow? So I don't need to unequip him. Sweet! Okay. I didn't realize I had an extra off it. Oh. It was future me. Or past me looking out for future me. So the great bow, Chiron's bow, Eros's bow. All 3 of those are going in. You know we're going to get something good here. Let me take that off my list. Now, I do need to buy a heavy hatchet. But I don't need that for alchemy. Yet. Or maybe not at all. I don't know. This guy's weird like that, but... The mirror shields... Oh, that would be an armor. I do need those next. I need all 4 of them for alchemy. So... This is potentially a giant pain in the ass. They're 15k. And I need 2 of them for the first one. So let me put 30k. Then 15k. And then 15k. Yeah. The Great Helm I won't need initially. So, yeah. Now we have to run around instead of just standing in one place, you know. I'm at 30 minutes, but let me see if I can... Oh! At least get this this part done. Because it won't take long. But yeah, I'm hoping that we get, like, the Dragon Quest X offline version. As well as the big remake of 3, that looks exciting. And, of course, 12. I think we'll definitely get 12. Dragon Quest 11 was a big hit worldwide, you know, and then I mean, it was a big hit on PlayStation 4 and Steam, and then, of course, the Switch version came out, which is a big hit. And then to the point where they even, you know, because the Switch version was, like, better, you know? It had more content. So they wound up putting that version on Steam and PS4 and then even on Xbox. So it's like, okay, you know, that's like the version now. And you can't even, like, digitally buy the old one. I have it on Steam because I bought the old version and then 11S was gifted to me. So, you know, it's delisted, but you still have it, you know. But yeah, you'd have the only way to get the original version if you insist on, you know, on PS4. The only way to get it is on PS4, unless you find somebody who sells Steam keys or something, right? Which, you know, that you do run into that. But yeah, it's one of those things. But that was, you know, so then it became a big hit again because there was the PS4 version, and then, you know, of course, the Switch version, and then that gets backported, and, you know. And then again, you know, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate comes out with the DLC of the main character, the hero, who the default skin looks like 11, and then this guy was an alternate form, and Solo from 4, and then Aros, which everybody likes to call Erdrick, because that's his title. You know, that's really badass, you know. And let's get the hell out of here. I did that on purpose that time because they pissed me off. So yeah, you know. So with 11 being this game that just, like, the game that keeps giving, like, almost like Skyrim, like every time the sales slows down, a new version comes out, you know. I'm sure that we'll get 12. I'm less sure about the remake of 3 and the offline version of 10, but I think so, and I'll tell you why I think so, because at the stream, it was all in Japanese, right? With subtitles, but it was specifically a stream made for the whole world to watch. It was because they had a separate stream just for Japan, and then a stream for worldwide. And even though they were speaking in Japanese, and it was translated with the subtitles, or maybe it was dubbed, I forget, but even though, I think, because it was live, it had to have been subtitled. Well, I don't know. Either way, somebody's either translating really fast and speaking, or they're typing very fast, right? Either way, it's happening on the fly, or maybe it was pre-recorded. It must have been pre-recorded, even though it was a stream, right? But anyway, they spoke about a bunch of different games, and, you know, there was the puzzle mobile game, there was 12, there was Dragon Quest X offline, there was the remake of 3, there was Dragon Quest Treasures, which has already come out, and Dragon Quest X version 6, the new expansion. And they said there were, you know, they put this thing on the screen that said there were no plans to bring Dragon Quest X online version out in the West. And everybody's like, you know, still no, right? Head back and stay at the end. But what made it interesting, at least for me, is that's the only one that they went out of their way to say that for. That they had no plans to release it in the West, which makes me think that all those other games, they did have plans. So they wanted to say, hey, this one? No. Right? This one? No, you're not getting this. The other ones? Well, we'll see. So I think that's why I think we are likely to get those games. You know, and I'm excited to play an offline version of 10 just as much as I'm excited to play an Octopath-looking version of 3 or a, you know, or 12. We haven't seen anything of 12 other than the logo, but, you know, people have had some very fanciful imaginations based on what the developers said. So. Like, they said it would be darker, and everybody thinks it's going to be like a, you know, really mature dark game, and it's going to, you know, it's not going to be Dragon Quest anymore. And I'm like, you know, in Japan, when they say a game's going to be darker, they usually mean that there's some sort of politics involved in it, some geopolitical struggle. Like, oh, there we go. A game like Final Fantasy Tactics, for example. Let's see. So this should be a really cool bow. Ba-da-da-da, Odin's bow. Alright. Let's, how much money do I have? Do I have 15k yet? No, I do not. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is, we're going to equip that. Because I'm sure it's really high stats. Yeah, see, much higher than that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, let me go back to Trine Golly before I end. And I'm going to write down the amounts that I need for the Heavy Hatchet and the Great Helm. That way I can do all the rest of the gold farming off camera, and then we'll just go forward with all the purchases and the alchemy next game. Wait, this is Fairbury. What the fuck? How'd that happen? Oh. I did it again. However I did it last time, I did it again. Maybe I did like, no, I wouldn't have done it. I must have just not selected Trine Gully at all. Like, I ended up at Fairbury. That, like, Vicky warped me and I wound up in the wrong place. If you get that reference, you get it. There's a series that vanished, right? Well, I recently played through all 5 Suikoden games. And some weird commentary on that, but... Okay, so let's see. A heavy hatchet. Well, that's a weapon. And then it's going to be for, like, whatever else I want to buy. So let's see. I don't see it here. Oh, there it is. It is a scythe, so I really don't need to equip it. But it's 29k. Is there a reason that I'm getting this? I mean, like, hold on. Let me look at this. Heavy hatchet. It doesn't show up anywhere else, like for alchemy or anything. But it might just be because, like, I'm supposed to get, like, every item, and some of them are not made by alchemy, and that's why, for 100% completion. I don't see why I really need that, but I'll get it. And then the Great Helm. I don't want the... let me see if there's anything else here that I actually want. Dragon... See, now it's all, like, crap, right? Okay, so I don't need that. So 29k plus 30k plus 15k plus 15k. Whatever the Great Helm costs. Which is 16k. Alright, and I'm not going to need that for alchemy. At least not yet. Let me see if I ever need it. No. No. Okay, so we'll just get the one, and I'll actually equip it to Yangus. Let me just write that. Equip. The mirror shields are all going to be used. Now let me go through this here. Mirror armor, I'll want that for Angelo, so let me write that down. Mirror armor, 21k. The mirror shields. Now, I don't know what's going to come of them, but it looks like there's 2 more that I would need. I mean, because it gives me the recipes, it doesn't tell me, like, they might be making better shields out of it. Because one of them is silver mail plus 2 mirror shields, it's probably going to be armor. And then, but then mirror shield plus white shield plus holy water is probably a shield. And then mirror shield plus Amoseco essence plus magic water is probably also a shield. I don't know what shields, and I don't know how good the stats are going to be and whatnot. So I'm just going to write here 2 mirror shields, 30k. Or maybe we'll just go. Well, you know what? I'm not going to do that. We'll see what happens, right? Power shield. Oh no, are those better? They're not better, but Yangus can have one, right? But I don't know what's going to come out of those other ones. It might make a power shield, or it might make something that Yangus can have, so it's not really that necessary. I mean, we're already getting the Great Helm. All right, so that's really the only extra thing is I want to get that mirror armor. So I'm going to stop right here. I'll see you guys real soon with more Dragon Quest VIII.